Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the channel. I'm a diagnosed narcissist, as you all know. But with all that being said, I am not a licensed professional, so keep that in mind as I proceed with whatever it is that I'm about to say. So, I'm making this video because I want to talk about peer pressure. Well, yeah, no shit, you saw it from the title, and that's why you fucking clicked on it. But yeah, I mentioned in one of my videos that peer pressure is something that I don't really understand. And as a narcissist, I thought I would break that down from my point of view. I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but I am going to talk obviously for my own fucking point of view. Now, peer pressure is something that I never really understood growing up. I've noticed that quite a lot of people feel a lot of like social and external pressure, which is something that I've never really dealt with. Like from an MBTI perspective, you could just say this is inferior FE as an INTP, but that's not going to be that video. I have that video. If you do want to watch it, you can just find it. But I've had some thoughts and I thought I would share it. So I guess it's more like I have an underlying question. Why do people feel burdened by societal pressure to begin with? Like, I understand like laws at most because obviously, oh, if you do this, we're gonna, do this to you, put you behind bars or like whatever. Like, yeah, that I understand. But like overall, a whole bunch of other things are so trivial and it don't really matter. I guess I've always wondered why people need the approval of other people in order to be liked because in a way I always felt that people not liking me was an indication of some pretty strong security. Like, okay, if you don't like me, then like do something about it. Like, am I supposed to just be, you know, upset over the notion that like you simply just like don't approve? I don't understand. So yeah, that's why I'm saying my overall question is why do a lot of regular people feel as though if they're not the same as everybody else, then I don't know, they feel something like soul crushing inside of them. And I'm just like, I don't really care because none of this, fucking matters. And I think as I grew up, this thing would work on a lot of people. That's why they would be conditioned and programmed to like act a certain way. But I've always felt that the more I disobeyed something or I said I don't really care and someone else got like upset or something, or, I just show a complete disregard for somebody else's feelings, let's just say a lack of empathy, to put it simply, that makes everything around me look super weak. Because when I realize that everything is only built under the illusion that everybody must collectively, I guess, succumb to a certain train of thought or like a certain perspective, it does make it does make everything look pointless and like it's not actually true. So I guess from a perspective of like hierarchical thinking, I could be in a room, and this isn't always a bad thing. I've also been congratulated for this as well. I've had people admire my confidence to, go against like a whole crowd of people, and I'm the only singular person arguing something else. And yeah, it does make me feel pretty good about myself because whenever people would say things like, oh, nobody here agrees with you, or like whatever, like something like that, then, I still feel pretty, confirmed about myself. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, because you're all stupid. You all need to collectively, I don't know, grandstand this particular thing in order to feel better about yourselves. It always made me wonder that, like, okay, what if this was more of like a one on one conversation? Would you just like collapse in front of me? Because if you need the guidance of like everybody else, then it just tells me that, like, oh, you don't really think for yourself, like, whatsoever. So, I mean, logical fallacies, let's say. I think the most common one that I've noticed more often than everybody else throughout my life is an appeal to majority fallacy. And I've been calling this out like way quicker than I ever even knew it was called an appeal to majority fallacy. Because one thing I always asked towards authority, my parents, whatever, like anything in general, is like whenever they would say something along the lines of like, oh, this is just how it is, or this is just what like everybody does, or like whatever, I would beg that question, like why? Like why is everyone this stupid? Or like what, like why does everyone have to do this? And it's like they would glitch and like lag out. And this is why I would always get this perspective that like majority of people were just like NPCs, and that's why they would be worth crushing or like destroying like their flow essentially. Because I always saw their harmony maybe as like something fake and not even genuine or like sincere. Because if it only takes one person to destroy the entire system, then why is it even worth it to begin with? Like people will try to peer pressure you to, I don't know, be a team player, be this, be that, and I'm kind of just like okay, why? Because it's feeling more satisfying to watch everybody else crumble. And this is where I've noticed that whenever this like happens, people will resort to like shaming tactics. And I guess it doesn't really work because as a narcissist, I already shame myself like 24/7. Like I know I can't adhere to a standard of perfection because like nobody's perfect. So I guess the notion that I would be shamed into doing a particular thing never really worked because I always carry those feelings with me 24/7. So whenever, I don't know, maybe I would have certain controversial takes, or maybe I would like go against like the grain, or I would question or challenge like anybody's sort of like perspective to the point where other people would get like uncomfortable by it because, I wanted to defend like the things that they're saying because I always, lived my life with this notion where like, okay, if you're gonna say it, then like, okay, prove it, justify it, explain it to me. Like, why should I just take it at like face value? So in a way, it makes me look very like antagonistic. Like, I'll admit that, but I mean, just like I need the foundation of like whatever it is that's going on. So yeah, it screams to me how loud that yes, we exist in like a hierarchy, and most people are just like sheep, and they just want to maintain this like sort of like thing because I've noticed that people actually do get irritated the more you try to make them think more like individualistically, if that's a word, more individualistic about like something. It, really irritates them. And I kind of just thought like, okay, we truly do just like live in this facade and none of this really matters. So I'm just like, if I'm going to exist in all of this, like, misery, why am I going to care if I watch your illusion come like crashing down and oh my gosh, it's so uncomfortable to be around you, blah, 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 this and that, where I'm just like, okay, well, don't you think it's uncomfortable for me when I get to see all of you living like blissful, ignorant morons? So, yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on peer pressure.